Welcome to Speaking Highly with Jon Huck. I am your host, Jon Huck. If you like the show, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, what you're seeing, please click the like button, subscribe on YouTube, and whatever podcast platform you listen to, we are there. So you can find us and check us out and keep liking, recommending, rating, and reviewing. I know it sounds weird, but it does help.
Beautiful.
With me as always, Indy Fawcett. Indy, how are you?
Good. How are you? I love every week. It's a gift. It's a gift to the
I'm getting a little bit better, right?
Yeah. No, it's great because it's kind of like Howard Stern, where it's like every week you just wanted to know what was coming next, and with our intros, it's the same thing. It's great.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the case, but okay, yeah.
No, Howard Stern's a relevant reference nowadays. Yeah.
No, I meant like I don't know that we're doing what he's doing, but I will say
let me stretch it, and you just take it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, and
we're like the Howard Stern show, but for positive vibes.
of course. Well, welcome to Speaking Highly, speakinghighly.com, everybody.
There we go. Oh, the website. Thank you. That's the thing. See, Look, I'm not good at promoting myself. I'm not good at I clearly I like attention. I'm doing a podcast. I'm a comedian. I want to act more. That's clearly something in my wheelhouse, but I for some reason can't be like, do the things that help me do those other things. I can't. I don't know.
How about this? Talk about self-promotion. I produce a lot of other podcasts. You can go to trobo.co/podcast to see those. But if you wanted to run something by you for the show on the air, people comment below if you would like it. John, how about we set up a voicemail box for the show and the listeners can call in and we can get a take from the listeners. I've done this with some other shows we've done and it's been successful. Would you
I would love that. I would love that, especially because I'm sure if we gave the number out, people would prank call it and you know what I mean? And we would get some funny.
Get your comedian
I'm
friends,
sure my brother-in-law would call it.
Yeah.
There'd be.
Well, let's do that. Well, you don't have to comment below. I mean, hey, we'll do it anyway.
We figured it out. No comments needed. We're going to set up a voicemail box. Even though people haven't been emailing or
engaging with the show whatsoever.
But, whatever. Who knows?
So this
might be something.
Is this an exercise in futility for us because we're just going to realize how nobody watches the show this early?
I don't know, maybe, but also I would be curious if someone did call in and what they had to say. I'm up for when you did that thing the other day. You asked about who the people would like to see for guests.
Yes, on the Instagram at Speaking Highly on Instagram. Yeah,
absolutely, man. And the suggestions that came in were solid. I was like, oh wow. I mean, some of these people I did have to look up. They weren't comedians or people I knew, but yeah, I mean, I've reached out to a bunch of them already who have agreed to eventually be on the show.
Oh, really?
When the schedule works out. Yeah,
Great.
I saw that list. I was like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I have a thing. And they were like, yeah, we'll get my publicist to talk to you. And so
awesome. I'm excited.
We are going to I'll try to get all the guests that were asked. I mean, there's some of them that I don't know if I can get Vin Scully.
We'll try though. We'll try our darndest.
Believe me, if I could talk to one baseball announcer, he would be the guy at this point because whatever, he did Dodger games for 50 years with nobody sitting next to him and seamless. Just a beautiful, one of the best baseball announcers, if not the best in the history of that art form.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so iconic. I was actually at Dodger Stadium his last game. It was great.
Oh, nice.
You could see the little white speck from far away waving. It was great.
Dude, but people love him. I mean, he was the voice of Dodger baseball forever. I mean, I'm a Harry Carey fan because that's who I grew up with. But Harry was more for the comedy for me. He was just funny. But Vin he's just the guy who. I mean, for a dude to be with a team that long, too. He knew the ins and outs of he'd been there longer than anybody.
Yeah.
He came from Brooklyn. Jesus. I mean, god damn, that's a long time ago.
It's insane. But
anyway.
Thank you, everybody, for engaging with the show. And we'll set up the number. It may even be in the description right now since we, edit the show later on. News to everybody. Yeah, how about that?
Oh, magic. Also, I've been getting back on the road. I got dates on my website, jonhuck.me. Was just up in Eureka. I've got some stuff in Illinois. I've got some stuff in Minnesota coming up. So if you're interested, check out those dates on my website, like I said. And then it's just good to be back out there doing comedy, man. I've been doing bar shows again. It just feels really, really, really good.
And another great episode of a comedian this week.
Yes.
About an utter killer, Ian Bagg, of course.
Dude, yes. Our guest today is Ian Bagg, and we're going to be talking about Last Comic Standing, especially, or I should say, focusing on the season he was on. He came in 5th on the very last season of Last Comic Standing. And if you know Ian Bagg, if you've seen him do comedy, if you've been in the room where he's doing it, if you've seen him on TV, you're going to think 5th place. What? Why wouldn't he win? Like, he was as soon as I found out he was in, I was mad because I was also on that season. And when I say on, I mean cut out of entirely. But I did try to get out of the first round, and I failed. He talks about this a little bit. He's like, I was really nervous. I just wanted to get out of the first round. And I echo that. I also was very nervous and just wanted to get out of the first round just to prove to myself that I belong and I should be doing this. And I was eliminated immediately.
Well, and you guys talk about how, the hierarchy of winning that program or that contest has no reflection on the person's quality of joke. Like it has nothing to do with it, and so it's just so frustrating because it's anti-comedy almost.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to.
Well, we talk about this. We talk about like the idea of judging art is. I dislike it. I dislike it immensely. I don't want to. I'm not trying to be negative, but like, if you draw a picture and I don't like it, that doesn't mean the picture's not good or that you can't draw. That just means when my eyes see it, it doesn't register anything I want to look at again. Like, It's a personal. Everything is subjective. Art is subjective. There's no this is good and this is bad. It's like whatever you like. There are people that like shitty movies. There are people that love good movies. There are people. It doesn't matter. To judge that seems really futile.
Yeah, and it almost seems like, at least with the streaming platforms nowadays, it seems like there's a flood of art competition shows on these streaming platforms. There's I think In Bloom, which is how beautiful can your flower bouquet be, or how beautiful can you make it look compared to this art painting or something like that, and it's all judging. And then there's glass blowing. I saw a glass blowing show, and they're actually fun shows, but it's interesting, like when you get these pretentious judges who like the thing that I'm like, you like that? What? That has no it has no function and has no value, intrinsic value to the common person, but is bosh, is stunning. Oh my god! And I'm just like, it's a porcelain cigarette box. Like,
and that's also we do talk about this a little bit with Ian, but like the idea of television, yes, you would like it to be whoever's funniest, that's who wins, that's the merit, but like. There's never just going to be that. Any reality show you see, there's produced drama so that they have something to film, because human beings can be, soft-spoken or quiet or relaxed or calm or laid back or whatever. Yeah. And they have to make them look angry or sad or upset, whatever it is. But like, there's a little bit of that with Last Comic, where knowing what I know now, it's not, the people voting for you are the people that don't like you or that don't care about your comedy or that are there collecting a paycheck. And you're like, okay, I guess,
Very vested fans. Yeah.
I tried auditioning. I auditioned for season 2. Like, I saw season 1. I was like, I don't really want to live in a house with anybody. I didn't like that aspect of the first season, which it started in 2003, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. On NBC, and it was judged. The people who picked the comics were 2 guys who used to book the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and I was, like I said, 2003. I'd been doing comedy for about 3.5 years at that point, and I waited in line. I did one of those cattle calls, so I waited in line from like 6 a.m. till like 4 p.m. and then at 4 p.m. they were like, we're going to cut the line here, which was 2 people in front of me. And I was like, what? And I had just worked on the Man Show with Jay Moore, who was the host of the first season of Last Comic, and his assistant at the time, a guy named Charlie, who has now gone on to produce the Asheville Comedy Festival. And he saw me because we had worked together on the Man Show. He knew who I was. He goes, "What are you doing, man?" I go, "I'm waiting to get in, but I guess I'm not going to get in." He's like, "Oh, no, come with me." So he fast-tracked me. He took me in around, got me in there, and was like, "You're going to go on next." I'm like, "Oh, great, man." You're only supposed to do 2 minutes. 2 minutes of comedy to win over two guys who do nothing but look at comedy all day. I was like, what am I going to do in 2 minutes? And I tried to do my best jokes. And my best joke at the time was about Maxim magazine. And I said something about a naked woman. And they were like, "Thank you. You lost me at naked woman." And I was like, what? Like, I didn't get through, I'm talking maybe 40 seconds of material. And then they were like, "That's it." And I was like, I was so mad. I left there. I was like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to wait in line with a bunch of fucking clowns. Like, it was so frustrating. So then, that was season 2. So then it goes on until 2010. It goes away, comes back in 2014. And then in 2015, somebody calls me and says, "Hey, do you want to do the showcase at the Improv tonight for Last Comic Standing?" And I was like, okay. And I looked at it as another set. I was like, oh, I get a spot at the Improv. There's a crowd. I can go do material. Yeah, I'm in. And obviously, that attitude is good because I wasn't thinking about the show. I wasn't thinking about getting on TV. I was like, I've got a chance to do 6 minutes of comedy for this sold out Improv crowd. And that's what I did. And I got on. They were like, "We want to have you on. We want to, and I'm sure they say this to everybody. There was we're going to do a field package. We're going to go to your hometown. We're going to do this and this and that." And I was like, wow, man, wow, this is going to be great, And in 2015, I'm like, I'm ready for this. This is, I've everything I've worked for. This is it. I can do a bunch of rounds of this show. I have the material. I've written. I've been, performing. And then I didn't get out of the first round. I mean, it was like, it was devastating for me. Like my wife will tell you, I came home, she goes, "How did it go?" And I just walked into the kitchen and I poured I think it was a pint glass of wine, all the way to the top, all the way to the top. And I just sat down with this fucking glass of wine and she was like, "That bad, huh? That good, huh?" And I was just like, and then the next day I said something like, "Oh, you want to judge comedy?" "Oh yeah." And I put some post out that was like, fuck That's off, gnarly. Basically. I was just and then I called the show and I said, "Hey, I want to be edited out. I don't want to be in there." Cause I wasn't going to get any more money for it. I wasn't going to get any more, so they were like, "The thing is, we want to put one of your jokes on TV." And I was like, okay. Just the idea that a national audience could see one thing for, it wasn't going to be negative. They weren't going to put anything. They didn't do that. They don't put negative stuff on in the sense that here's what a judge insulted this comic with, right, or here's what they didn't like, or it wasn't about that at the season I did anyway. So I don't know. I don't know. The whole thing was kind of a blur and it was frustrating, but I know it sounds like I'm being super negative about this, but I will say it's helped a lot of people. And when I say helped, I don't mean that these people wouldn't have succeeded as comedians. I mean that it put another chunk of America in touch with them, meaning they know these people. Like Felipe Esparza is an incredible comedian.
Of course.
Last Comic Standing got him even more. I mean, when you see that, you can tell he's good. He's funny. He grew his fan base pretty massively, if you will. I look at Eliza Schlesinger, also already doing well in her own right, but when she won that, it just got more people to see who she was.
Yeah.
Again, I do think these people would have succeeded anyway. John Reep, I want to say one real quick thing about John Reep. He won season 5. And when I first started doing comedy, I didn't know I could get into the Comedy Store as a comic for free. And a couple of my friends wanted to see comedy. So I said, let's go to the Comedy Store. We paid the full fare to get in, got a table, wasn't very crowded. This is before the way the Comedy Store is now. It was a lot darker, a lot a lot less what it is now. I don't know how else to state that unless you were there. But we were there, and this table, me and my two friends, and maybe 4, 5, 6 other tables in the original room at the Comedy Store. John Reep went on and destroyed. Like, he was so funny. Again, we were crying, quoting his jokes on the way home. Like, he was just a guy that once I got to meet and know, I was like, oh my God, it's such a great, like, he's also a nice guy. Like, he destroys on stage. He's incredibly hilarious. But also, Last Comic gave him a new chunk of audience. You know what I mean? Like, he is a fun, relatable dude. And I think the show has positive attributes. I think Alonzo Bowden would have been who Alonzo Bowden is without
God.
Last Comic. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't need the show. None of these guys who won needed the show. But it just fast-tracked their audiences. You know, it just got them more fans. And that's, as a comic on the road, it's very, you want to not care. You want to be like, I don't care who comes. Whoever does come, I'm going to give them the best show that I can. But club owners don't see it. That they're like, hey man, you know, you're not drawing. We have to pay you this much because there's nobody here to see. It's like, this show would give people the ability to draw that they might not have had it before. Again, not that they weren't funny before, just TV makes things different.
Yep. It's sobering.
Yeah.
But
we did have a great
week.
Yeah, we did have a great talk with Ian. He's super honest. He's super funny. I've known him for a long time. And we get into like where I first saw him and how I was like intimidated as shit by the guy because he's very good at what he does. I would say in terms of crowd work,
oh my God. Yeah.
Ian is probably at the top of that. I mean, Jeff Garcia, I don't know if you've ever seen him. He has a very unique ability to be able to riff with the crowd and then tie it all up in a bow at the end. And that's just a skill. Like, the crowd work thing, I don't want to say envious of, but a little bit, because when I try to do crowd work, I go off the rails immediately. I tried to do something Eureka. I was like, hey, what do you do for a living? The guy was like, tech. I'm like, I don't know where to go. Never mind. Why did I ask? Fuck it. So it was like, Ian can do that. He can pick people, do the things, and then tie it all back up. It's a skill. It's a very interesting and unique ability, I think. But he's great, and I think you're going to enjoy our talk. Ian Bagg on Last Comic Standing. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Bagg, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, Ian. How are you?
Thanks for having your fancy show there, Hucky.
Yeah, man. Well, I figure I've made some appearances on Around The Bagg. A couple. I was on.
Whenever somebody cancels, I was like, oh fuck. Hopefully, John. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but
you are. You can. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, I should have asked that before, but I just like, you're so good at it. A, you're so good at it, and B, it's just you were around, so I was like, oh, maybe he'll be.
I think you should start with A, you're around, and B, you're sort of good at it.
No, you're so good at it. You make me laugh every time. So that's why I try to find people that make me laugh, and every so often we have some duds, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it's just somebody who can kind of understand your personality and let you know what I mean. It's a little bit of a give and take. But today we're going to talk a little bit about Last Comic Standing. You and I were actually in the same seasons. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, because I was in a group. It was 2015, right? It was the last one where it was the last season, right? It was season 9. Mm-hmm. So the show 2003 to 2010, and then went away, and then 2014 and 2015 it came back for 2 seasons, I think. But yeah, I remember feeling like I didn't want to do it. You know, I was like, I don't think this is. You know, I'd seen the previous incarnations of the show. I don't want to say adamantly opposed to, but I don't think comedy should be a competition, or I don't think the arts shouldn't be a competition. Be like, my painting's better than your painting. Who's going to judge painting? Like, it's all subjective material. Like, someone may not like what you do, but then 2 other people over here might piss their pants laughing. So it's, how do you judge comedy? I do think that it did a lot for some people. You know what I mean? I think the show really helped get eyes on some comics. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I will interrupt you there.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I hated being in a contest. You might win, but you might not. You might not win, and you might. I hate it. I hate contests. I just hate contests. The only thing that got me through it was I was just like, it's just another set. It's just another set. It's just another set. The only thing I wanted to do once I was there was get through the first round. That was the only time I was nervous. The first round. Do you remember the first round? I don't think I was on the night you were on. So I remember the first round, people trying to get camera time, like in that backstage area.
There was a little bit of that. Yeah.
So there was a lot of that going on. I was hiding and sneaking out of the room behind the room whenever I could, because I was just like, I don't want anybody to see me if I don't make it through.
Dude, I had the same thought. I was like, I don't want to. If I can't make it out of this first round, who am I as a comedian? And then I didn't, and I was like, well, fuck.
But you know what? It's such. I just can't imagine the arrogance to be able to judge comics is just insane.
That was
right.
I mean, and then the audience, like what they did for me, was like, I didn't go on. I got there at 8 a.m. I didn't go on until like 8 p.m. And then the audience had been there since like 10 a.m. It was like this insane. They gave them a 20-minute break. These guys come back like, and you're on. Go do 3 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck? I can't. And the judges, I mean, Norm Macdonald was like, you look like you want to be here. And I was like, you should see your face, buddy. And then Roseanne was like, I agree. And then Keenan Ivory Wayans was the only one who had actual constructive criticism about my set. He's like, you had too many tags. It's like, you only have 3 minutes. Just hit the punch and then move on. And I was like, in my head, I was like, that's actually good advice.
That's great advice.
But I didn't say anything. I just stood there while they talked to me. And then Jeselnik looked at me. He goes, do you have anything to say? And I was like, can I go? He goes, yeah, you can go.
It was interesting to be on a show to know where there's people that can't follow you judging. Which is a dick move, but at the same time, like a dick for me, things for me to say. And I had a lot of problems going in there. Like I didn't show up until 11:30 that morning because I got up in the morning, got in my car, out of my car, went back to bed. Got a call from my manager asking me are you going to do that thing today? I'm like, yeah, I decided not to. He's like, you got to go do that thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So we talked about it and I went and did it. Right.
Wow.
I showed up. I knew they were angry at me already. And I'm like, okay, you got to get this paperwork done. You got to, which was funny because then we sat around until 4 p.m.
Hurry, do this. Now sit here and do nothing for 10 hours.
So it was, but that's reality TV. Like we know what they're looking for. We know they're going to make a hero. They're going to make somebody that's the victim. They're going to make somebody that's the villain. They're going to, we know that. And shame on us for going in there and pretending it wasn't going to happen.
Thinking it might be different. This might be different. This might not be reality TV. And then exactly it's.
So if we're gonna go in there, play the game, right? Play the game. We're in show business. Play the game. We're always playing the game. It just sucks. The game sucks, but it got me a lot of new fans.
That was the thing for me. It was like once I realized that you were in that same season, I didn't feel as bad about being there. I was like, oh, well, if a guy like Ian is going to be here.
I had a lot of people say that to me, and it was really nice. But you realize that Chad Daniels didn't get through. You realize.
Right, exactly. And Chad is a phenomenal comic. I mean,
he's on fire. He's making probably close to $1 million a year now, and I'm not. So they have no. There's no. We're popcorn. That's what we are as comedians. We're popcorn. We don't know when we're going to pop. It's not the best comedians that pop. And I'm not saying Chad Daniels isn't the best. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's not your talent that makes you pop. It just happens to be the right time, and you happen to be on the heat at the right time.
Yeah. And to clarify, you didn't win Last Comic Standing.
I was disqualified. I was disqualified.
You were disqualified?
Yeah.
How are you disqualified?
We had to send in our sets, right? And the way I did it was I would always send in stuff that I knew wouldn't get cleared to get stuff that I wanted to do on, right?
Okay.
The stuff that I thought would not get cleared got cleared. Going down on a girl. Like somebody read it and didn't understand what I was talking about.
Oh, wow. So they're like, yeah, you can say this.
Yeah. And then I did it and they're like, we didn't clear that. And I'm like, got the email right there. And instead of saying, let's see the email, they all fucking took off and had a big thing. So, yeah, I was disqualified.
So what? The producers huddled and then they were like, we got to get this guy out of here?
They told me afterwards that I wouldn't be winning.
So but you still finished in the top 10. You still did the tour.
Yeah, I finished it. I got disqualified in the top 5, so I had no chance of being one. But they only announced number 1, right?
Right.
They only announced number 1, so it wasn't like there was extra money to be won, and everybody just went on the road, right? So, but I didn't win, which I might have, I might not have. I don't know. It was the final episode was a shit show. So they put they put the comedians that didn't win in the front row. So there was 10 comedians staring at me.
Wanting you dead.
Yeah, I remember one guy. There's one guy, I can't remember, the New York guy, and he's always got he's just stepped in shit look on his face to begin with, and I'm like, oh fuck. Right in the front. I'm like, I just remember looking down and just like going, this is shit.
Why would they put those people in the front row? That's
because
insane.
They're fucking not good. I remember you know what, one of the reasons, do you know Becky Pedigo?
The name is familiar.
She was producing on the shows for years, and she tried to get me to do it, and I said, no. And then one year she said, will you do warm-up? And I said, yeah, I'll come in and do a warm-up, or a day of warm-up, or a couple of days of warm-up. I got fired.
After the first day or the second? I mean,
first day.
Because too funny?
Because no, I don't know. But one of the reasons was, like they wanted me to do some things. I'm like, no, I need to get the crowd warm, but I need to be an MC that's at a comedy club, so it's good for the comics, because these comics are going on to a crowd.
Yeah.
We got to make sure they're warm to a comedy crowd. They're warm, so it's a comedian friendly. And then and then they fired me. I said, okay. I said, I'll come win your contest next year.
So you did warm up in 2014?
Yeah.
And then in 2015 you came back.
Russell Peters, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was when was he the host?
Or he was the judge. He was one of the judges.
Oh, one of the judges. Okay, because Jeselnik was the last season.
JB Smooth, I think was.
Yes, JB Smooth. And honestly, that guy is like, JB Smooth to me is like, remember how Heather Locklear, they used to bring her into sitcoms to save them, or dramatic shows to save them? I think people were doing that with JB Smooth for a while. Like there'd be a sitcom, it was like, it's okay, it's sort of faltering the ratings. They'd put him in as a character and the ratings would go up. Like he's a sitcom saver, he's a super talented guy. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I didn't realize you were disqualified, but they didn't even boot you from the whole thing. They just said you can't win.
No, just that he did material that wasn't cleared there for it. And I was just like, I did the material, I that was cleared. I remember there being a couple producers on that show that were just difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, right, we'll get you somebody to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay. And then they didn't show up. And I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom. It's like right across the hallway.
Yeah, you're an adult. You have to pee.
I'm fucking 42 years old.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can get there and back, Yeah, so I just remember dealing with that. And then there was these young producers that were on the show that were just fantastic to work with. Like, I'm trying to remember. There was a group of young girls that were just so great to work with. I can't remember, they had a production company, and they were working together on that show. They did the interviews, they did stuff like that, and they made you feel funny. They were concerned about you as an artist. And they had just had a great attitude, like because you need somebody that wants to make you feel that you're funny, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that helps.
I'm trying to think who the young lady, the girl was. Dark-haired girl. She was running around. She was doing their internet stuff too. Do you remember?
I don't remember anybody's name, but there were a couple people that you were like, like hungry. Like they were not necessarily brand new, but they were newer as compared to like the executives, So they weren't.
I'm just saying younger. Yeah, younger. And basically in our situation, trying to get themselves to the next level.
Yeah.
Where the now there's another group of people that are just like, there's no bigger middle management crew in the world than fucking show business middle management. I'm just trying to justify being there and making a decision that doesn't need to be made. And I'm just like, holy shit, we could all park here if you fucking losers didn't show up. I find that on every show I work with. I'm like, what does that fucking guy do?
Yeah,
like,
right.
And I'm like, they talk about diversity. You're like, they all look the same. They all like, I'm like, my God. You know what's funny, John? I laugh when they bring up diversity. I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm like, I would never complain if somebody that doesn't look like me gets something.
Oh yeah.
I hate when somebody that looks like me that is average gets it.
Yeah, because you're like, hey, you passed me over. What happened? Why'd you go with the guy who's like me, but like, you went with Ian Bagg light instead of Ian Bagg.
Yeah, it happens so much. And there's nothing worse than watching a movie and every character looks the same and you're trying to figure out who they are. I'm like, are you? So is
everybody twins? What's happening?
Yeah. You guys couldn't find one Asian guy while in Asia?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's some laughable casting that goes back a long way where you're like, you couldn't mix it up here. You just, everyone has to look like the same exact person. I agree with you.
It's interesting. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't think you book a comedy show because somebody looks different. I think you book the person that makes people laugh. And comedy is about not getting on a show and being disappointed and upset and making you work even harder for the next show. Yeah. So when you don't get on a show, bitch about it, but bitch and moan, but don't try to ruin somebody else. Just
work harder.
Fucking remember that and destroy.
Yeah.
I know we're going a little bit off topic here, but
that's great.
I get a bad rap for I don't let my features sell stuff.
I have heard that.
People get very mad about it. And I'm like, I'm at a point in my career where I just need a little bit of extra face-to-face time, hand-to-hand time with the crowd afterwards. Here's what I don't complain about. I don't give a shit what you talk about on stage. I want you to fucking rock that fucking stage so hard, I can't follow you. I will never fucking get mad at somebody for being great. That's all you should be doing, is trying to destroy so hard the club goes, they can't come back as a feature. They got to come back for more money, not selling your fucking shit t-shirt. You know what I mean? I know who shit comics are, because the ones that want to sell a t-shirt will never headline. Or will be a fucking shitty headline and bitch about the guy that's just all I'm trying to do is make us more money. That's all I'm trying to do by having, because I have to, when I go to a club, I'm the headliner. I have to deal with, at the end of the week, they sit me down and show me the numbers and show me the tickets that I don't sell, and to try to work me down to a different deal if they'll even bring me back the next time. I'm the guy that has to do all that shit. You just have to show up. Yeah, half an hour before your show.
The feature spot, for anybody who's not aware, is a pretty sweet spot. Like,
it's a sweet spot.
Because they're there to see you. Like, if I feature for you, they're there to see you. So as long as I don't go out there and like eat my own ass, they're going to be like, okay, whatever, that was great, or it was funny, or we really liked it. But there's never going to be, dude, who is that guy? Let's fucking. Yeah. They're gonna, if they didn't like me, the taste is gone by the time you walk up there. So there's no pressure for me as a feature.
All you got to do, it's 20 to 25 minutes. Just fucking punching bag.
The best you got. Just bring it, yeah.
So people go, I want to see more of that. You might not have more of that.
You might, but you might not. But you, I agree. You want them to think like, dude, well, I would love to watch this guy for an hour.
Yeah. I didn't get into stand up to sell a T-shirt.
No.
I got into stand up to be on stage. And if I'm, I remember what used to drive me nuts when I was a feature. People would tell me you can't do. I'd get fired for doing what I do, crowd work.
Oh, because the headliner didn't want you talking to the crowd.
They didn't want to follow what I do, So when I'm just like, I've never said to a comedian, you can't talk about that. I've never said, you gotta. I've always just said, give me time afterwards with the people. That's all I've ever asked.
Yeah,
and it's pretty interesting when you see guys fucking destroy. It makes me work hard. Reggie Steele?
I don't.
He's out of San Francisco. I've never seen a crowd like somebody so much. And I bring him as a feature to places where it works out financially because it makes me work hard. It makes me lose the first couple minutes of my show trying to get them to forget about Reggie. That's the comedian you should want to be.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I mean, I first of all, telling people what to say on stage is, I don't think I could ever do that either. It's a very
guys do.
Oh yeah, I've seen
John Witherspoon's fired me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The Spoon fired you?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
And it was so disappointing because I was such a big fan.
Yeah, he's so fucking funny.
I'm not following that guy.
Wow.
Sorry, you're gone. I'm like, yeah, Ontario Improv. That's where it happened.
I will say that is.
Guess who headlines the Ontario Improv now?
Yeah. I mean, that sucks that you were fired, but that is a nice compliment that Witherspoon was like, I can't. I'm not going on after that.
Oh, it's a huge compliment. It sucked financially. But.
Yeah, that's the thing is that when you're a feature, you kind of like you need every dime you can get because you're fucked, financially.
I think guys should. If I could start over again, the big thing that I would try to do is become the king of my town and not be traveling all over the place until I was a headliner. The old, because you can get stuck as a professional feature.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm stuck, but I'm definitely in this like weird place of like where it's like I get to feature for guys I like who like me, comics I like that we get along, and then I can do my own headlining shows as well.
Yeah, but you're an interesting case because you're also a TV personality. You're recognizable. You're just. If I would suggest anything for you, that'd be more like Rory Scovel.
I love Rory. He's great.
Like he had that kind of he did a lot of commercials, right? Yes, and you need to capitalize on that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying.
I know you are, and I know, and as I said before, we're all popcorn. So when we pop,
yeah. I want to take it back to when I first
go back to your fucking go back.
I want to take it back to when I first saw you do comedy. I'm sure you're going to have no recollection of this, but I was dying the other day because I did a show at this same bar. It's got a new name, and I didn't even know it would survive the pandemic, but it did. There used to be a show out of a bar called Goldfingers or Goldfinger. It was on.
Oh no!
It was on Yucca in Hollywood, right? Okay, kind of a weird next to a place called Playboy Liquor. Not a great little section. Kind of a lot of weirdos and degenerates and But I would go to this. Bar. It was like I think it was Monday nights. They had a mic, and the two women who booked it were super nice, and they liked me. Natasha Leggero worked the door. Like I saw Ralphie May go up there. Like all these people came in, but the first couple weeks I was there wasn't a lot of other people, and I felt I was the best comic in the room. Now I'd only been doing comedy for a year and a half at that point, and was not very good, but neither was anybody else in that room at the time. One day I get bumped for Sam Tripoli, and Sam goes up. There's 10 people in there, and Sam destroys. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what's this? Is this what comedy can be? I'm crying, laughing. I go on after him. Tank. The only laughs I got were making fun of Sam having material. I'd be like, oh, I'm Sam. I have material. Like, it was like, I didn't know what else to do, but he killed it. He was so funny. And then 2 weeks later, I think it was, me and my buddy, my roommate, we go back to this bar, and the door guy he's kind of a strange bird, you know. But then I see you at the door, and I'm like, that guy's recognizable, because you had done Conan at this point. You had been on TV already. Like, you had already done national televised sets, and the door guy carded you, and you go, what? I was here last Monday. And the guy goes, a lot of people were here last Monday. And you go, no, they weren't. I was here. I saw the inside of the place. No one was here. And then you went up on stage and did like 20 minutes on that door guy telling you about the bar that you'd been into. It was like, I'm not doing it any justice, but again, me and my friend were crying laughing. And
thanks,
that was super intimidating. I was like, oh, that guy came in and just like made stuff up? I'm fucking sweating over a joke. And then I couldn't even make eye contact with you for like the next couple times we performed together. I was like, I can't be around that guy. That guy's going to fucking see that I'm a fraud.
If I make eye contact with that guy, we're going to make out.
But it was so funny, man. And then from there,
who was it that ran it though? Who was it? I'm trying to remember why it ended up there.
They were two very nice girls. I can't remember their names at this point. I don't believe they're still involved in comedy, but at the time they ran that room and maybe some other ones. And I met a couple people through those rooms, but they were always very nice, you know. That was like early 2000s, and up to that point, you'd already done television sets. So I'm wondering, like, you being on Last Comic, it's like, I don't want to say unfair, but like you're already like kind of leagues above the people that you were sort of competing against, you know?
Well, I asked them that. I'm like, well, you know, because they tried to get me to go on from the beginning. I think the second season they were asking me to go on, and I was just like, I just don't want to do that. It's just schlock, right? So I didn't want to do that. What I didn't realize is there was nothing else going on like that for comedians, where when I look back on it, I would have loved to have lived in a house and give people, you know, more to get to know me.
Did you watch that first season?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I stopped watching comedy really close into my, probably about 2000. Yeah. 2000. Like
why?
Because, I didn't want to be influenced by anybody else. I didn't want to be angry with somebody else because I didn't like their comedy. I wanted to like them as a person. So I just stopped watching, you know, and I never watch my openers unless somebody asks me, and then I'm just like, if you ask me, you know, you're going to get an opinion. Like, the other day somebody said, I was talking, there's a club in San Diego, and he goes, I run Comedians by Ian because he actually gives me like you know, whether they, you know, real, like if they're, you know, they're real. So I don't watch comedy. I just don't watch comedy. You know, I don't want to be influenced.
Yeah, that is a key thing. I think it's hard if I don't watch very much of it. I have the guys I like and the things that I like, so I will always kind of focus in.
Who do you watch?
Well, I'll watch any Sebastian special. He makes me laugh. I'll watch any Stanhope.
I'm thrilled that he made a ton of money. You know, I'm very, very happy for him. So he opened for me once, and I don't remember it, but we drove back from.
Yeah, I don't know him too well, just in passing. I've auditioned for a couple of his sitcoms that he had pilots going, but yeah. There's something about Sebastian that takes me back to where I'm from. Like, I'm from Illinois, so I'm from outside of Chicago, and he's got.
Are you Italian? You're not Italian.
I'm not Italian at all. No. But he's got a very ball busty Midwest sensibility that, like, if you're his friend, he's not going to let you get away with shit. He's going to make fun of you if you do something wrong, and that's how me and my friends were. It was very much like,
it's fun. You know, it's really funny because I found I used to get myself into trouble using my sensibility from where I grew up. Whereas, no, you can't fucking be a bullshit artist. We call you out if you're a bullshit artist.
Yeah,
and that caused me a lot of trouble with people. But I'm just like, how am I the dick if you're the bullshit artist?
Oh, you mean you were calling people out?
Yeah, it wasn't in a mean way. I was just like, don't be a fucking liar. You're lying. You're fucking lying. You know what I mean? You fucking did not. You've never done anything near that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, a lot of people don't like to be called out on their lies. This is Hollywood, dude.
It's funny. It's very funny.
But yeah,
I read the best review I did at your mom's house the other day.
Oh, nice.
And I just happened to stumble across a review of it, and somebody said Ian Bagg would be famous if he wasn't such a cunt and didn't do crowd work. Like, I was like, all right, well, I think both of those things make me. So. If he wasn't such a cunt and didn't do crowd work,
what a great review. Oh man. So let's go back to the very beginning for you. Like when you obviously were from Canada. We can see your little insignia. We get it.
We have to put that up there.
We can hear your accent.
Dude.
What?
I believe I still have one.
Yeah, interesting, right? How long have you been in the United States?
25 years.
25 years? That's not that long. I thought you'd been here longer. What? So you started in Canada. You started doing the rooms up there and the clubs up there. When was that?
That was 94, 95.
Okay, because you were then on Conan in 98?
98.
So,
I'll tell this story. I just did a podcast this morning, and I talked about this story is, so I follow my friend Craig Campbell to the Montreal Comedy Festival. He's on the festival. I'm not on the festival. Just hanging out.
But you'd already done comedy a little bit at this point.
Doing comedy, okay. Yeah. I remember watching Dave Attell. I remember watching Joe Rogan in Montreal. And there's a little club called the Comedy Works. And I know I've worked there. Like I'd worked there, done shows there, and just hanging about, just hanging, taking it all in, just being superstars are everywhere. They go, hey Ian, so-and-so hasn't shown up for their set. Can you go on? I'm like, fuck yeah. So I go on, and this guy named Lucian Hold comes to me afterwards and goes, hey, if you're in New York, I want to put you on stage. I'm like, what? So I got a business card, and I'm like, I'm moving to New York. I'm that young. I'm that naive, and I'm that driven.
This guy's like, I'll put you on stage. You're like, cool. What he means is for like 5 minutes at a time, one time a month, and you're like, I'm moving there.
Well, yeah, and so meanwhile, I'm at this festival, and I'm living with a girl in Vancouver, and I'm calling her back via payphone and putting coins in the phone, and she says, you need to come home. I need to talk to you. So I'm like, okay. So this is in Montreal. I got to get all the way back to Vancouver. And I hitchhike and get rides all the way back to Vancouver.
No shit.
Yeah, and this girl, of course, it's the first time I'm in love. This girl dumps me on my ass. I'm like, well, you could have done that on the phone.
Yeah, I was like, why did I need to drive back here for this?
My favorite part was she said to me, "You're just not around enough." By the way, I've met a sailor.
Did you really? I met a sailor.
He's gonna be here forever. I'm like, I don't know if you know what sailors do. Anyways,
I'm sorry, that must have been painful.
Oh, it was very painful. So, but I figure I'm just like, okay, but he's told me to go to New York. She's dumped me.
Now is the time.
I take a couple more months. I get another gig in Montreal at the Comedy Nest or the Comedy Works, and I go in there and I do a weekend. I make $800 Canadian. And I take that money and I buy a train ticket to New York, and then I turn the rest into American money, which probably came out to around 600, 500.
Yeah, something like that.
And I got on the train and I went to New York with not knowing anybody but this guy Lucian Hold, who had given me a card.
You didn't have wait, did you go there just to visit? You're moving there at this point?
I'm going. Like, I got everything I own. I'm on the train. The border patrol comes through and asks everybody what they're going to New York for, and I say I'm a writer. I'm going to write about New York. They didn't ask me where I was staying, thank God,
because you didn't have anywhere.
I didn't have anywhere to stay. I get down there. I as the train's coming into New York, I just see the filth of that fucking and
you're like, ooh, this isn't Vancouver.
Yeah, that's exactly. Oh, I might
have made a huge mistake.
Write my name and number. Write my name and my parents' phone number on a piece of paper and put it in my sock.
These are you call when you find my dead body.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. Right. So I get off the train, and there's a piece of paper and it says youth hostel, $14 a night.
Oh my God, dude.
I fucking call it. They're like, yeah, you can come stay here. You have to come, which is 6 a.m. You have to come in at 11 a.m. and yeah, you can stay here. Guess who fucking started staying at a youth hostel for $14 a night?
Oh
So
my God.
he found a place to stay. And like that, again, like that is just, I don't know how, like I don't know what I would have done. Like, I really don't know what I would have done.
I mean, I didn't even understand the concept of youth hostels until I went to Europe, and they were like, "Oh, you stay in a youth hostel, but
Right.
if you were to come to Europe 3 years from now, you wouldn't be able to because you have to be under 25 or whatever it was." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
So I'm 23 or something like that when I go to New York, 23 or 24. And so I go there, and now I got coins, and I'm calling this number that
On the-
Lucian holds on the card, and hanging up every time a voicemail picks up, so I have that quarter.
Oh, okay. Because you're not leaving
Right.
a message if you get the
Not leaving a
quarter back.
message. I'm like, I'm not just right. So I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, he can't call you back anywhere. He's like, I'm at a 6th and 85th. Like, what? I don't have that number.
So I keep calling over 2 days, and finally he picks up. Are you the person that keeps calling and hanging up? And I'm like, yes, this is Ian Bagg. I met you in Montreal, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah. He said, well, come on down tonight and I'll put you on stage. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, yep,
This is how it works.
this is how it works. So I go down there and do my stupid Canadian set and eat shit. And,
Did you tank?
oh, fuck yeah.
Because they
Talking
what?
about-
Weren't ready to hear about
Talking
Canada?
talking about eating blueberries because, you know, like, you know, stuff like that. So, but he's, for whatever known reason, like, Lucian passed away, and we didn't end on the greatest of terms. You know, we didn't, but he said, I see something, come back tomorrow. Just kept putting me on stage, and would give me $20 a night.
That's enough
So
for your room.
I'm getting a room, and I'm also got $4 to fuck around with in New York City.
Well, yeah, that $4, man.
And that time, you know, like, so it was sometimes it would be my subway fare, sometimes it would, you know, whatever. I think it was $1 to take the subway that time, $1.25. Oh man. Sometimes I'd just walk up and, you know, just have an extra $4 in my pocket. So but I was there for 3-4 months, and I think about 6 weeks in, one day he said to me, tonight there's going to be a Conan O'Brien audition, and you're not going to be on it. And I said, well, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, great. I'll stay home.
Right? He said, but what you will be doing is you'll be going on just before it. That way, if they don't show up, nobody gets missed. And you'll do the time
Until they get there.
Until they get there. And he said, but if they arrive on time, you get seen. And I'm like, okay. And afterwards, they asked to speak to me, and they said, we'd like to book you for the Conan O'Brien show.
What the fuck? 6 months in New York? 6 weeks. So you're like, oh, comedy's easy.
No, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I want to get good. That's all I'm doing is I want to get good. I wanted to get good comedy. And I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. And instantly out of my mouth is, I'm illegal.
I don't have a green card. I don't have a visa.
Exactly. I'm not legal to work here. And they go, we'll help you get your green card, or we'll help you get your work papers. And I'm just like, that was like the skies open up, and like, fuck, you're going to America. You're fucking going to America. Like, you're not just working at one club. You're fucking, all of America's opened up to you now. So
is that a Canadian, like, comedian's idea? Like, you want to get to the States? Is that?
Some.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I grew up near Alaska, so I really was lost when it came to entertainment.
Just in terms of what came your way, what you were able to see?
In terms of nobody in my world had been anywhere near entertainment. You know, it was, nobody could give me, stay away from that person, you know, go this way, talk to this person. I had no guidance.
Right.
You know, if I wanted to be a logger or a miner, which I was headed to do, I had lots of, you know, guidance that way. But
A lot of people around to tell you how to do that.
Yeah. But not, hey man, these people are going to dick you. Don't worry about it. Just keep a smile on your face, instead of me getting dicked and just like fucking going bush boy on them. You know what I mean? Which slowed me down, but helped me out. And it just helped me be just naive enough that I could go to New York.
I think naivety is a big, it's looked at as like a negative thing, but I think it's an important thing at the beginning when you to not see the picture so big that you're like, yeah, why can't I do this? I can do this. I'm fine. I'm getting laughs. I can do that. And then you keep going. You're naive enough to think like, oh, I can do this. And and then you eventually are like, yeah, no, I can do this. But if you had known what you knew about the entertainment, like when I first talked to Sam after that night at Goldfingers, I was like, how long have you been doing? He said something like, I've been doing this 8 years. And I was like, what? And then in my head, I go, I don't have 8 years. Right. I have to make this now.
I need to be famous by next week.
Yeah, 8 years. Who has 8 years? Meanwhile, 20 years later, I'm like, hey, can I feature for you? Like, I'm still like, but also I'm not going anywhere. Like, to me, it's about hanging on. It's a numbers game. It's like, if I still love it, that's enough for me to keep going. And then
you are very successful. People know who you are. Your face is on TV a lot. And I'm the same way. I think my career shit, but we have to look at it from outside of ourselves. Because I've always been impressed in your booking capabilities and your drive that you get stuff done. It's
I appreciate that.
It's very few of the people we know will just get things.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fucking work, man. It's a lot of work.
And a lot of it's being in the right spot at the right time. And like someone drops out of a show and you were there to take, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. That's like the dream. Every time I walk into the Improv, every time I walk into the Comedy Store, every time I walk into any comedy club that I'm not on at that night, the dream is someone got a flat tire, someone can't make it, someone dropped out. Hey man, can you go on stage? Like I don't show up at a comedy club not ready to go on stage, which is... can be deflating because you probably aren't going to get on, but it's happened a couple times at the Improv. Like, hey man, so-and-so didn't show up. You want to go on? I'm like, yes, I do. Like, here we go. Like, just being ready when that knock comes.
You will never get it by saying, no, I won't go on stage. You didn't book me beforehand. So, I'm not ready to go on stage. You will never. No is a very powerful word in our business. Yeah. But there's a right time to use it. So.
Yes. I agree. What was you guys, for going back to Last Comic, the idea is you want to finish in the top 10, right? Because that
I guess,
or is it the top 5? How many were on the tour?
You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to do every show. That was the only thing. I just wanted to be on like I wanted to be on TV as much as I could. That's
doing comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew they were going to play the whole set, which was funny to me about that fact that they would make us write out our whole sets. I'm like, why don't you just let us be funny and then just pick out the things that are accessible?
Yeah.
You'll get because there's nothing worse than a comedian having to put his words on paper and see how fucking shitty it is. And also something lazy that the business has gotten into, because when I first did Conan, they'd come and sit and fucking
take notes
and tell you not to, this can't be used, that can't be used. Like now they make you just write it down, and they take, like, being a TV booker now is just laziness. it's just the laziest.
Yeah, they make you
ever.
Transcribe your set. You have to turn it in.
And also look who's on America's Got Talent. You're just like, I'm like, really? The guy won Last Comic Standing, and now you got him doing America's Got Talent? Like, there's a guy that's won Last Comic.
Who was on America's Got Talent? Who won Last Comic?
Josh.
Oh, Josh Ballou?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is good for him. But I'm just like, you said to me earlier, I thought you were above doing that show. Well,
yeah,
it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. Why would he do that? He's already won.
Yeah, I also think you have to have a very different personality to be able to do those shows. You got to be able to.
You kind of have to be the guy. Like you can't be annoyed at things. Do you know what I mean? Like it can't
water
be
off a duck's back.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of because America doesn't want to see, he's angry, or they want to see all the.
America wants to see the sausages, not the sausages being made.
There you go. That's a good call.
And when they do those shows and they're pretending that they're showing you the sausages being made, they're already made.
What? Yeah. What? Because you have to do, like, they didn't do the house thing when you were on. They didn't do that kind of. The reality sort of competition part of it has sort of faded away,
right.
But they still had you do, like, you were still having to prepare material, show the material. What was the process of getting, like, each week? How did you know?
One of the ones that was fun. They only did one thing with us where they had us fill out a piece of paper where they were going to give you a person that a mentor. Like, who would you like for a mentor? And it went from Bill Cosby all the way down.
I wish you would have picked Bill Cosby.
I think I did. It went all the way down to, like, Brian Irwin. You know what I mean? And then
it's a list of 5,000 comedians.
Right. And then we get there and I can't remember what round this is, but there's still quite a few comics on it. Like Greg Warren's one of them.
Oh, wow.
And we have to go in and meet our mentor, and then it turns out we all get the same mentor. And
so you picked, and it wasn't. They're like, we don't. That's not.
Like we're not. And it turns out it's Wanda Sykes,
who was the executive producer and helped bring the show back.
Yeah. So which is, cool. Yeah, I get it. Cost savings, whatever reasons.
Can't get Cosby out of prison.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't in prison at that time.
Yeah, no.
He was still raping at that time.
He's still being Cosby.
He was Cosbying it up. But so I go in, and I know Wanda from back in New York. I'm like, hey, Wanda, how are you? She goes, good, Ian. I'm going to be your mentor. And I'm like, okay, cool. And she goes, I'd like to get on stage and do your show for me. And I was like, what? And I look around, there's nobody else in the building. And I said, no, thanks. And she said, what do you mean, no, thanks? And I said, I'm fine. I'm good. I've got it. She goes, what do you mean you got it? I go, I've checked in with my friends and,
I've run it by some people.
Yeah,
they laughed.
Some people. And she goes, well, do your friends have Grammys and
50 years of comedic experience?
I go, actually, some of them do have. So, because I checked in with, I think at that time it was like Louis Anderson and Trevor Noah. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
So I wasn't checking in with, just duds.
Right.
There's just no way that I'm going to send myself through a spiral, because I know how it happens for a comedian. And it's my chance to show me, I used to get so mad, nothing. Like, do you think he's funny or do you not think he's funny? That's it. So
which is how it should be across the board.
Right. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to play that game that spun me out. And I just said, no thanks. No. Perfect time to say no. No is the most powerful word when you use it. Then I talked to my friend Greg. He's fucking spun right out.
Because of having to do that?
Because she's told him not to do this, not to do that. And he's
second guessing himself now.
Well, he's got inner turmoil going on, and he's like, should I do it? And he follows her advice, and he's knocked out of that round. Boom, he's gone. Greg Warren's one of the funniest people fucking ever of all times.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious. He's not you. There's a certain point where you can't tell a comedian. You can help them, but you can't tell them. You can't. No, it's you can help them edit it. You can help them, but you can't tell them don't do this or don't, don't, that's not funny, or, they know. Trust me, we know. We do it every night. We know what gets laughs.
Yeah.
And if you think that it's going to come out a little bit different in front of one person than fucking 500, you're damn right.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's going to come out different. The energy isn't there. Like very early on, someone was like, offered me a headlining night at this place called the Maggie's in Hollywood, which is a sushi restaurant, right?
Yeah.
I was in Santa Monica working at MTV, and this kid called me at like 3:30 in the afternoon. It was like, hey man, you want a headline tonight? And I was like, oh my God, I've never headlined. He's like, you can do 30 minutes. I go, holy shit, I've never gotten to do 30 minutes. So I leave work early, haul ass back to Hollywood, get to Amagi's. There's nobody in there. There's an annoyed waitress leaning against the wall. She's fucking pissed. Like she was called in early, whatever. And then the booker, who's a nice guy. Like I still to this day, I find him, he's a very nice guy.
Who was it?
I'm not going to say his name, but he then said to me, I go, I thought you said the show started at 8. And he goes, yeah, I don't know what happened. I was out on Melrose passing out flyers all day. I go, well, that's what happened, dude. No one wants your fucking flyer. Like what? And then he says, if you want, we could each do a half hour to each other and then give notes. And I was like, no, I do not want. I'm going to go home. I'm not, me delivering my jokes to one person who's critiquing is not going to be an area where I can grow. You know what I mean? Like,
also, there's a difference between us bouncing stuff off, each other.
Yeah.
And growing it together. Then, yeah. And there's nothing against Wanda on that. It was just not a good situation.
Also, they were trying to make TV. Like, they're trying to add substance to what they have.
What's funny is they didn't air that. I'm like, why didn't, like, that's great TV. Me just saying no.
Oh yeah, because they were like, no, fuck that. I'm sure they didn't want to air it, but also like, what is the point of me going on stage and getting like mocked and ridiculed by Norm Macdonald and Roseanne Barr,
right?
When they're not going to air that either. Because I was like, I literally the next day I called the producers and I was like, I don't want to be on the show. I want to be edited out. And they were like, well, because I didn't advance, and they made me stay in the green room, and I was like, I don't want to be on the show. Like, I didn't advance. Right. And like, well, we want to keep you in because we're going to put one of your jokes on TV. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, if I can get that out of it, one joke on TV, something I can point at. I was on the show, didn't advance, but there's one joke that's pretty good, right? Right. And they didn't do that. They made me advertise the show, and then at the very end, edited me out anyway. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be on Last Comic, and then wasn't on the episode that I thought I was going to be on. I was like, I feel like a fucking moron. Like, it was very, I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
But like you said, new fans. I mean, that's the thing. Like Josh Blue, John Reap, Felipe Esparza. These, like, Felipe and John especially are two guys I've seen, and I know they destroy all the time. Mm-hmm. So that it makes sense that they would win, but also like, I feel like they would have gotten fans anyway, but that happens quicker. Like, you could keep going, and you're going to amass fans and people that like your comedy. But what you did was like get beamed into America's living room a couple times a month, and then that sinks in. So whenever you go anywhere, someone's like, "Oh yeah, I saw him on Last Comic," and they know you're, in their head,
it was only a 6-week show, or 6 or 7 week show. Sorry, and I was only on, I think, 4 or 5 episodes. So,
but then the tour, which
I wish I had been done it earlier. But at the same time, you do things when they happen. I've never taken the easy road, so this is the way we're going to do it. What's that, gravel? We're going to drive on that. So, and then the tour was fun. It was 90 days.
90 days, like
90 days, and I think 80 dates.
Holy shit! So you guys were. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a long time to be on the road consecutively.
I got to know Dominique quite well. I think she's fantastic. The guy that won it, Clayton Stevens, was just
Clayton English.
Clayton Stevens is the guy I started out with in New York, but Clayton English, he just did very well, and I terrified everybody by going on before them every night. So,
well, that's what I was going to say. Is like, what was the skill level? Why did you guys rotate who went on when, or were you didn't close out every show?
Nothing against anybody, but the first night we were doing it, we were told we're going to do the same rotation every night. Ian will go on first, and then then Clayton will end it. And after the first night, that was changed. Because there are some tears backstage, but
yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see being like, "What? You're gonna put this guy on ahead of me? That's not right." Like, let's
Dude,
order this.
There's nothing. I was on a Just for Laughs tour at the same time, and I think 2000, as Dane Cook's rocket was taking off, right? And it was me. It was Alonzo Bowden. It was Jim Burr, Dane Cook, and I think one other guy. And they would make me follow Dane Cook every night. And
everybody wanted to see Dane. They were there to see Dane, probably.
It was that rumbling. That was the summer of the fucking taking off. And I'm just like, you guys, what the fuck? And everybody else on the tour was loving watching me just fucking eat my fucking ass every night, you know?
I do. Do you think, like, I feel like Last Comic, they did try to, I mean, at a certain point, like when you were in, it was like audience voting and people at home who were kind of making those decisions? No,
it was all producer based.
Really?
Yeah.
So they already knew who they wanted to win. They already knew who they wanted. Because I felt when I was sitting there waiting.
Producer and host based is who got to pick. And for whatever reason, I'm guessing the judges, I'm guessing, picked me and outvoted. Because I'm pretty sure there was a couple of producers that wouldn't have voted me through. So
yeah, just because you're a pain in the ass, or just because they?
Yeah, because I was too busy being a goof, which is why I'm in stand up. Like,
yeah, not to be a mature tie-wearing, button-down individual who takes things very seriously.
Exactly. I'm gonna be a fucking. I did this because I'm not that person. So I am the person you see on stage is me in concentrate. So
yeah. Which I appreciate. I do agree with you on that. Like, I like when it's, I see you on stage and you fuck around with people on stage in front of the audience, and then you're the same kind of guy. Like, you'll bust my balls. You're the same. And I like that. I like when people say that to me, when like, oh my God, you're a lot like how you are on stage, or you're just like how you are on stage. I'm like, yeah, I don't go up there and put on a character or whatever. These are me. These are my opinions. This is how I feel about stuff. This is real. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I work hard at kind of being. And also,
I like to. I'm not that guy that I think I'm better than other people on stage or off stage. If I'm busting your balls, it's because I like you.
Right. Yes.
If I don't like you, I'm trying everything in my power to get away from you. So
I'm the same way. Like, I'm not gonna make fun of someone to their face that I don't like.
No, I'm not. No, it's quality of life. I don't want you in my life if I don't like you. I don't
have anything to say to you. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm doing everything to get away from you, it's because I don't want to be near you. So.
Well, after that tour, how quickly did you see your like social media following kind of beef up? Was it immediate? Like, once you were on one night, was it like more followers, or was it
I want to say that I was in a weird place I probably got Facebook followers, but I don't think, maybe some Instagram followers, but my Twitter page didn't really. I actually stopped using Twitter and started a new page. I'm down to about 1,500 people. So I just wanted to get a different group of people. I didn't like the group that I created.
Yeah.
Like, I was arguing about politics too much. Suddenly I was just dragged down into a bog, and I want out of this bog. So I just stopped that page, and it was up to about 12,000 people. And I just stopped that page because it wasn't a fun game,
Yeah. Yeah. So, that was, you talking about the last like 5 years of social media?
Yeah. So I started a new page about a year ago, and I'm just letting it build naturally, but very rarely do I say anything, political on it. And just,
Yeah. And when you go on the road now, do you equate the fans that come out to see you? Do you think Last Comic really helped put those asses in seats? Yeah.
Absolutely. I still have people come up and tell me I should have won today. And I say to them, my big comeback line is, I'm over it. You got to be over it. So yeah, it's interesting. I think, even with all the complaints about Last Comic Standing, I thank them,
Yeah.
So I thank them that, thank you very much. And
I do think at the core of it, they want you to do well. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, once you've passed that round where people are getting eliminated and mocked and told they shouldn't be there, or their faces look bad or whatever.
Right.
after that, I think they just want to put on some quality comedy. Now,
I
again,
do too, and
subjective.
The thing that we hate is the business part that doesn't need to be there, like the 1,000, I'd say they probably could have chopped 100 heads off of not comics of people working there that just didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of production. It's either you have so many people, you're like, what do all these people do, or you don't have enough people, and you're like, where is everybody? But it's never like appropriately staffed.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on her name. The girl that did the social media was just fucking awesome. She was making videos and stuff like that. She rides her bike everywhere. You know who she is.
I feel like I do, but I'm not sure. There were a couple people that you could tell. I mean, they ideally you see those kind of people, and you're like, I want you to be a showrunner. I want you to advance. You need to get up there. You need to be at the top. You need to be in charge, because people who come up from the bottom they see how people are doing it wrong, what they would fix, what they would change, and they keep note of that. And then when they get to those positions, ideally they make those changes. Or they do
right,
those
which
things.
is when it comes to podcasting, which is why it's so great, is because you can have your finger on the pulse without a bunch of different people trying to get the finger on the pulse at the same time. Just
trying to change it, or trying to change what you're doing because it's your show.
Exactly. And you know what, John, I really believe this, and I've been saying it lately, is we can't worry about who watches it. We can't worry about the numbers. So if you do a good product, at some point it's going to be watched, and you have the product there for when it gets watched.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I always say too, this kind of like a running theme through this show is that if you do something with love, if you really love it, if you're just doing it because you want to do it, then you will succeed. And whatever that success is, you know what I mean? Like for me with this thing, like we're fairly a new podcast, but we've got people that listen. We have people that care, and that's just going to keep growing if we keep putting out something that we believe in, that we give a shit about, and that we want to promote.
I have a lady that has my tattoo on her arm. She has my face tattooed on her arm.
Wow.
Because she told me I was there to make her laugh, and she just wanted whatever reason.
She needed a laugh. You filled that.
And I've been there for her when she needs to escape. And that one person says so much. I don't need... would I like to be followed by 500,000 people? Fucking love it. But, at the end of the day, the fact that I can actually make a difference to, one person escaping sadness or even just being bored or just, whatever, that finds me funny enough to listen to, that's why I do it my way, because I'm going to find those people.
And when you're authentic, you will find people that understand you're being authentic and appreciate that. And that's what you want. I'd rather have, as this is especially post-pandemic or whatever you want to call it, but like pre-pandemic, I would say I was getting a little burnt out. I would say I'd walk into some rooms that I would be booked on, and if it was a shitty situation, I would leave. Right. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not going to go up here. This is because in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to grow on that stage. I'm not going to become a better comic by doing the same shitty 10 minutes to these people who don't care. But now there's a little bit more of every show I do, I don't care how many people are there. I don't care how many asses are in the seats. I just want to connect with at least one or two people and make them laugh. And if I can do that, then everything else sort of falls into place. And when I start thinking like that, the shows that I've done since we've opened it back up have been fun, and I'm back to like enjoying it.
That's what you want to do. I will admit that at some point you do get to in your career as a stand-up where you have to go quality over quantity, because we do go for quantity at some point, and then there will be a point where you have to say no to something because it doesn't help you. If they're not there for comedy, don't do it. Yes, that's different. So at the beginning that was a challenge, but now you're just like, nah, man. So
Yeah, it's like sort of helps you grow in the beginning because you're like, okay, I can still do this. I know that no one really wants to see me, but I'm going to get up there and plow through it anyway. And then like years and years and years into it, you're like, yeah, but that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me. Like I need people that are going to pay attention so that when these jokes work or don't work, I get a reaction and I know what to get rid of and what to keep and
because you know what's funny and it's not you're going off of people's responses. Yeah. Man, John, we're fantastic.
Well, Ian, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Where are you going to be coming up? I'm sure you got dates.
I have, what do I got? I got Virginia Beach, August 5th. I have Vegas, August 29th. I have other stuff.
Okay, that's good. I mean, we'll put up a link to your website too. So.
I have a new podcast which I'm working on, which is very interesting. There's a true crime murder podcast called Sword and Scale. I am doing the rewind for that show.
Wow.
So we talk about. I make murder fun. Apparently, I try to make people laugh about murder. So if you want to,
people love true crime podcasts.
It's always good talking. It's always so easy to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. And I do enjoy being on your podcast, Around the Bagg. That's always fun. You're still doing that, correct?
Absolutely. And the hockey podcast with my friend that played in the NHL. So he played in the NHL and I was in a movie with a chimpanzee about hockey. So you will not get any better hockey.
What movie were you in?
I was in MVP 2. Most Valuable Primate Part 2. I played Olaf Shickedanz, the Swedish sensation.
Wow, dude. Wow. And you play hockey in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something I can see on Amazon?
Yeah. I was on, I think it was on HBO for HBO Family for a while. I did it in around 2006, 2007. Wow. One of the highlights of my career, I just got to spend 6 weeks playing hockey with the monkey.
The monkey skated too?
Oh, yeah. He skated better than his trainer, so he get away with it. So.
Oh, my God, dude. Well, now I have to watch this fucking movie.
You're going to like it. I guarantee you.
I'm going to get the tattoo of the chimp.
That's right.
All right, Ian. Thank you so much, man. Have fun on the road, hitting those dates, and I'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you.